E3 Media.
Through the media.
Really fast.
Yeah.
Episode 5 and 6. Interview with the Vampire. Let me.
And you haven't seen 7 yet.
We have not seen. I know you got the AMC Plus.
I know. I got the Plus package.
Yeah. Okay. We're 5. We're still at 6. Okay. 5. Episode 5 and 6. Okay. Look. Okay. Let's go down. Okay. Episode 5 Anne Rice's interview with the vampire. A vile hunger for your hammering heart opens with Daniel Malloy. I said the name wrong last week. Malloy and Rashid discussing Claudia's diary. Malloy fixated on a section of. Oh, I got those notes here. You don't got.
I know.
I got.
I was just fixing the paper.
My bad. Malloy fixated on a section of the diary in which Claudia records the final words of her victims as he watches Louis feed from Rashid's neck in horror. Still devastated by her accidental murder of Charlie, withdraws from her companions. Neither Louis nor Lestat so much as lay eyes on her for months. When Claudia returns home, she is startled to find Lestat lying in her coffin waiting for her. They confront her about the kills. She describes in her journals as she has burnt no corpses in their incinerator. That whole situation, but like her collecting bodies and whatnot. I'm like, what went through your mind when you first by that part of the show?
About her collecting, what do you mean, the body parts?
Yeah, the fact that she had when they started to find out that she was killing people, but she wasn't incinerating them. She was being sloppy. Remember that?
Well, it's just typical of a child.
That's
who
what I was like.
doesn't
This is like
know
teenage move
things.
101.
Yeah.
She thinks she's doing a great job. Like, I didn't leave them out. I hid them. And they're like,
Yeah.
where? I threw them all in the water. It's Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about to have a storm. They're all going to wash up. And they did.
Right.
Yep.
And they all just appear. It's just bodies
Mm-hmm.
everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then her even taking the little trinkets.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
that's even
That's serial killer faux pas 101. Like what trophies? Really? What are you taking
Yeah.
trophies for?
Yeah.
They're just like scattered about the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is literally just honestly in my mind, this is juvenile behavior.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like they're really setting that in that she is a child doing these acts.
Yeah.
And so therefore her childlike mind is creating childlike behavior within these very adult acts. And so I think that they did well really representing that in this.
Yeah. So in the speakeasy, a recent hurricane has unearthed, and we were just talking about that a second ago, unearthed over 50 corpses and caused them to float along the waterways and wash ashore near Louis and Lestat's townhome. Each of the corpses is missing some body parts, and so Anderson warns them that the police would soon be coming over to their house. That whole the situation was
They were already there.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, they'll be there tomorrow. It's like, no,
No,
it's
they're
like now.
They're there right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
already searching.
Yeah, that whole situation was so crazy and it was very tense. When they arrive, I'm trying to do two things at the same time. When they arrive home, the police are already inside while Lestat, Louis, and the deputies accompany an officer outside to examine their incinerator. Claudia attempts to hide the body parts she stole and having found nothing to tie them to the bodies. The officers leave. Then the officer taunts the two men, telling them
Well, I mean,
to.
she had like a full body. And a
Yeah, did you see the one?
Oh,
in the
yeah,
car and it was like all.
Like, yeah, dude, he was still alive, wasn't he?
Yeah,
wasn't
he was still like,
My favorite was when they pulled it all out and put everything on the table. Like,
look at all this stuff.
look at all this stuff you
Yeah.
What are
saved.
you going to say about it?
Exactly, and you gotta hit me on that.
Sorry.
So, but no, that's fast. Let's get it moving. After the police leave, Louis and Lestat. Where am I at on here? After the police leave, Louis and Lestat disagree about the proper way to discipline Claudia for so nearly exposing them. They bicker like an old married couple. They essentially are. Claudia erupts in anger, unable to stomach watching a lover's squirrel. She reveals to Louis that Lestat has been canoodling with Antoinette again before storming upstairs. Louis and Lestat are forced to radically change their lives in the wake of Claudia's departure. Her recklessness has drawn scrutiny that that wealth alone cannot
They
deflect.
basically have to just live in the darkness for a couple, was it
Yeah.
several years?
Several years, yeah. He was like basically going to ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Claudia exits a majestic library later on as a student. As a student in a varsity jacket, accuses her of stealing. She is rescued from the interaction when another vampire, Bruce, who whisks her into the woods where they share a meal and conversation. He tells her the story of his creation. The conversation quickly turns when Bruce offers Claudia a book on etiquette to teach her to be a nice young
Oh,
lady.
like
That was so creepy.
all
wasn't
my
it?
feminism just rose.
like-
You need
And I-
to be nice.
And I was like, oh, this is not going to go in a way that I like, and it did not.
She was
Let me show you what
She
you
was
need to do.
visibly
Yeah.
uncomfortable and drops the book in the fire and attempts to flee. He lashes out, disables her, and scolds her for her rudeness. Like you know, like you know,
And then
Typical-
basically went to like, we can do this the easy way.
we can do this the
Which
easy
way
way
would you
or the
like?
But both ways are his way.
Yes.
yeah.
One way or the other, it's gonna go down.
Right. 1930s Louis. In 1930s, Louis reads a newspaper article about a string of mysterious deaths on the college campuses across the southeast. Loud. He receives a phone call from his sister Grace later on. She asks to meet at the mother's grave. She explains that her family is moving north. Their finances have been destroyed by the stock market crash. She tells him that this is a permanent goodbye, moves the flowers that she had brought with her to her mother's grave to reveal a second line beneath his mother's name, her beloved brother, Louis de Port-du-Lac, and the date of his death is October 1930. When Grace is gone, Louis screams out in pain. Unknowns to Louis, Claudia had been watching him, seeing him heartbroken over the rejection
He's
of his
been
sister. She returns home.
Calling to her night and day
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
in his mind talk.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things Bruce picked up on, like, who's that?
Yeah,
that
he
keeps
heard
calling?
her name, yeah. On the wind.
But it's funny how it took after getting meeting another vampire, and getting assaulted. That's what caused her.
Well, her
to
biggest
go wrong.
problem with Lestat was that he would not tell her anything
Yeah.
about other
The
vampires.
vampires.
Right.
He would not give it was like parenting 101 fuck up.
Yeah.
Like
It's the, because I said so.
Yeah,
do as I
like-
say, not as I do.
just explain. Maybe even if it's I can't explain this to you right now, but I will give them something to look forward to. But like the fact that he just kept that closed door and wouldn't say anything really, really is what pushed her to go out and try to find other things. And then unfortunately, because he was so controlling and pushed her out, bad things happened. If he
Right.
would have just been honest, then it wouldn't have been so bad.
And he was kind of cocky after when she came back, like he was after that. Oh, I was about to say something, getting ahead of it. We'll get there. Like it was funny how. You know what? Never mind, because we're about to get there right now. I'm about to get ahead of ourselves. So she reveals that during her time away in the college libraries, she had been studying vampire myths from around the world, and that she wants Louis to accompany her to Europe to continue the research. Lestat and Claudia both beg Louis to stay with them. Claudia attacks Lestat's character, describing him as an abuser, unworthy of Louis' love. He grabs her by the throat, intended on fighting her. Louis jumps in, and the two of them scuffle. Louis tosses Lestat around the room. This is it. This is the big fight. Around the room, getting pummeled. All while Louis is attempting to console Claudia telepathically. I thought that was interesting. The fact that while he was fighting, he was still going,
Well,
that's okay.
That's the typical abused parent. Like, it's gonna be fine. Don't worry. I'm okay. I'm okay. You'll be fine.
That's
Oh.
what happens in domestic
Yeah.
violence situations.
Lestat ultimately beats Louis. Claudia catches up to them and drags Louis' body onto the street. He lifts Louis, bites him on the neck, and then the two fly off into the cloud. He demands to be let go, and then Louis dropped him. The reveal that Louis could fly. And it was funny because I forgot that Louis flew
You mean
on
Lestat?
episode 1. I'm sorry, that Lestat can fly. And it was revealed on the first episode that he can fly. I forgot all about that flight because it was a lovely flight.
Yeah, yeah. It was a different kind of flight.
This was a different type of experience. So that was That was very interesting. I thought, but yeah, that whole situation, that line about, just tell me you don't want me, or tell me that you don't love me. Like you want, like, give me a reason to like end this like permanently. And Lestat doesn't say exactly what he wants him to say, but he says just let me go. And it kind of felt like The Dark Knight. That's why I got the poster behind it. Like The Dark Knight when the Joker was holding Rachel at the window. He's like, let her go. Very poor choice of words. Just drops him to the ground. And then he leaves after the fight is over. But yeah, that rounded off episode 5. Okay. It was a great episode, but I expected more. I was like, okay, the big fight. I was like, that's the thing that everybody was shocked about. I was more impressed with episode 6 than I was with episode 5.
I think for me, what they were really trying to convey was the abuse that was that was relevant even in these vampire worlds where it's supposed to be sort of the better of humans in a sense. So like that there's still domestic violence between these two people, that there's still essays that are happening, and that there's all this trauma that is causing a lot of the behaviors that they do, and trying to humanize these monstrous behaviors. That to me was the purpose of this episode, and what the shock was. So not so much that, there was this fight scene and this fight scene was dramatic, but that there was this fight scene amongst these lovers that are supposed to be a family, and that there was this thing that happened, and he is literally showing his toxicity within the relationship and his abusiveness outright, instead of his abusiveness being very passive, because he had been very passive and very psychological in his abuse before, whereas now it's straight out, okay, here's the actual violence, here's the actual abuse.
The mask finally slipped.
Yeah, and most narcissistic, abusive people, it slips at some point, and this was the moment that they displayed within the show for their relationship, which I thought they did it in a way that was still very relevant to the story and really created that issue with their relationship, because a lot of people don't know about the story going beyond them two, because all they saw was an interview with a vampire from back in the day, and that there's whole other storylines that come into play.
Exactly. Well, okay. Let us know what you guys think about episode 5 of Interview with the Vampire. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more on later. We Got Your Mail kind of show. On episode 6, we'll run down it real fast. Like Angels Put in Hell by God. This episode, let's see where we are on it. It's right here. Okay, yeah. This episode opens up ultra close on Lestat. His skin surveying the damage and the repair that's being done in his broken. Did I put Lestat or Louis?
Yeah,
Louis.
Louis.
It says Louis right here, and I said Lestat.
Yeah.
I don't know why, like these L names. Obviously, that's obviously Louis. His broken body, as you can see right here, and he's being fed rodents by Claudia.
His handmaid, nursemaid.
Yeah.
Well,
She's awfully tough nursemaid too. Like I was like, damn. I mean, she's compassionate in the sense that she's taking care of him, but she's also like stone cold faced.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Well, I think because she's older,
Yes.
and so she's also angry with him.
Oh yeah, she's very angry.
She's the other side going, why are you letting him do any of this?
yeah.
She doesn't understand the tolerance
No.
that he has for her, and which is such a. Oh,
She
man.
wants it to be what all the outsiders of the world want it to be, the easy way. Just leave.
Yeah, yeah. And
Why don't you just leave? Why
this
do you
is
keep taking it?
literal definition of how domestic
Yeah.
violence goes down, and like when kids are dying for their parents to get out of the situation and they don't. It really did just take on that role really well.
And of course, they
I messed up something.
heal, but because he's so badly hurt, it's a very slow healing process.
Yeah.
And later on, Malloy and Louis continues their conversation about Lestat's so-called cloud gift, the ability to arise at will. Louis returns to his story. Lestat has not returned, and neither of them is much interested in hearing from him. They ignore all the phone calls to the house. Claudia refuses to let him in. He insists of seeing Louis, accusing
keeps
her
bringing gifts
of keeping them apart. Louis speaks for himself by tossing Lestat's coffin out the window. I thought
That was brilliant,
That was
actually.
hilarious.
I was like, oh.
What does Louis have to say about Gabloo?
That's your answer.
Yeah, there's your damn answer. Like, babe, like, come on, let's work it out. Like that, there was no radio over the head, you know.
Well, and it always, as you see with the whole episode, it starts out strong.
Uh-huh.
F you, dude.
Yeah.
Don't ever come
Uh-huh.
back. And then as the
Decide to
time
dabble in
passes, it just
fuckery.
keeps getting weaker and weaker.
Yep. That's what
and
happens. They wear
weaker.
you down.
That's what
And
happens.
weaker, where she keeps
Oh.
reminding him,
Yep.
be strong, be strong. You can do it.
3 years later, Lestat drives up besides them in a shiny new Rolls Royce. He begs for forgiveness and swears he can change. This relentless flow of gifts and pleas for forgiveness continue for decades, and Louis begins to lose his resolve. A record arrives in the mail along with a note. It is Lestat's newest composition, his first in 100 years. Louis puts the record on and is moved by the beautiful music and lyrics but Antoinette's voice singing then infuriates him. He gives Lestat the reaction he's been looking for all along, storming into the home and bedroom Lestat shares with his other lover, confronting them in bed. Antoinette is thrown out, and Louis, dripping wet from having swum the Mississippi River in search of Lestat, replaces her. I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that I didn't expect. I didn't know that's why. I thought it was just raining or something like that. He's like, dude, you swam across the Mississippi to confront my lover, the other woman.
I was so disappointed. I mean, granted, I knew it was coming, but I was so disappointed in Louis
That he went back?
that he went back in that moment,
Yes.
because he was even pissed about the
Oh, yeah.
song.
It's like, dude,
Lestat knew what he was doing. He knew
Oh,
by
he-
putting her on there, it
It would
would
piss
trigger.
him off,
it would trigger
him, and he would
maybe
not-
this will get him.
finally
Yeah.
get the reaction that
Yeah.
he's.
Yeah, and so it bothered me so much. I was like, no, don't do it. I know you're going to do it, but don't do it. Like one of those moments. But, ugh, I was like, you're falling for it.
Yep.
And then
Let's see. Louis and Claudia set rules for Lestat to return, defining a hands-off relationship with Claudia, forbidding outside affairs and banning lies, including those of exaggerations or omission. I'm glad they mentioned that.
Yes.
Louis asks if Lestat was responsible for Paul's death, but Lestat denied it. He tells them of Magnus, his maker. They talk about that.
So
That was
this
a
is
sad
what I was
story.
talking, this scene right here was what I was mentioning last week about
Okay.
how they humanize him. They
Yeah.
give him some redeemable qualities.
Of course. Of
Because
course,
now he
yeah.
has trauma. Now he has a reason to
Yeah.
be the way he is.
It's not my fault that I'm an abuser. I was abused.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
and it
it's-
helps Louis, but Claudia's still like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I know.
I
She's like,
do
I'm
not
out.
care.
Yeah. She goes like, and my favorite, she's like, don't get it twisted. I am not doing this for you. I am doing this for him.
For him.
And I was like, oh, okay.
And of course, Louis is like, well, pretend better. And she's like, I don't. That's not my thing.
Yeah. You
yeah.
get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Yeah. The humans in the mist grow more suspicious of. I'm sorry, where am I right here? I'm sorry. Here I am. The humans in the mist grow more suspicious of them as time passes, with increasing frequency. Sigils, voodoo dolls, Bibles, and other symbols
they
of
keep
protections are
putting
left
stuff on the front
outside
doorstep.
the door. As such, they spend more time in the park. The three sit on the same bench night after night. Lestat complains that Louis is judgmental about the fact that they feed off humans, and both are surprised when Claudia agrees. Louis decides to stop feeding only on animals and to join his companions in hunting vampires. When Lestat returns home later that evening, Claudia demands to know where he's been. He tosses. Let me move this out there. He tosses her a folded up newspaper. She unfolds it to find Antoinette's obituary wrapped around a purple ringed finger. Turns out Lestat isn't trying as hard as he's leading his family to believe, escaping not to his hunting ground but to Antoinette's bed. He complains to her, declaring how he needs her to survive them. She begs him to run away with her, reveals that he had has added her to his brood as a vampire by giving her the dark gift. I didn't think that she was a vampire by that point.
Her?
Yeah.
The girlfriend?
At this point,
I don't.
or before, but yeah, she at this point, yeah, she is a vampire by this point. The whole cutting off the finger
Cutting off the finger.
was before he turned her.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and forgot to do the webpage. Let's see. Louis has finally. Oh, am I getting ahead of myself? Dark gift. Louis has finally broken and has allowed the numbness to take over. Let me change it. He does not confront Lestat about Antoinette. Claudia tries to get Louis to board a train to New York. He refuses. She is determined to go, telling him to come find her in Europe when Lestat inevitably hurts him again. I thought that was interesting, part of the conversation. With Claudia gone, Louis considers suicide, but returns home anyway. When he arrives, he finds Lestat inside listening to the radio with Claudia. That this was her choice is obviously a lie. In truth, Lestat had followed her and demanded she return. That he has known about Bruce. That he could summon that monster if he wanted to. He brings her home and warns her that if she
he'll
attempts to
kill her.
leave again, he would kill her.
Yeah.
Claudia is more determined than ever to free Louis and herself from what she sees as slavery of Lestat's grip on them. She believes that Lestat killed his maker and that's the only way that they could also be free.
Correct.
So she's
That-
like, I will find out the way.
Yeah. That will take to
And
get
the
out.
only thing they have is the fact that Lestat can't read their
That's the only.
minds.
That's the
Yeah.
only. Yeah, that's the
Because
only
only
advantage that
he
they
made
have.
them.
I
talk
cannot
to
wait.
each other.
I cannot wait for y'all to watch.
Isn't
the
episode
next-
7 the last episode?
Yes, I cannot wait for y'all to watch episode 7.
It's just like you non-AMC Plus peasants, get on board. I already know what happens. If anything like the movie, I'm sure she's gonna slit his throat like what's her name did to Tom Cruise. Maybe that's what's gonna happen. Moving on to the last part. In the present, Malloy has passed out on the couch. His dream brings him back to the fateful night and 49 years prior to when he first met Louis. The memory plays out exactly as it always has. He lets Louis buy him a drink and agrees to go back to his room for the interview. Just before the two leave the bar, another man stops to speak with Louis. Malloy now recognizes that the man as Rashad, prompting him to be startled when he wakes up. I didn't get that at first. I
oh,
didn't
just
realize.
wait, just wait.
So we have theories because Joy was like
I just assumed it was like a fever dream because he was,
they were
Has
talking
to-
about how we're not remembering things accurately, right?
well, and like normal people do, our dreams frequently are weird.
Well, and
Things
we
mix
also-
together, we
Yeah.
combine things.
So no spoilers for episode 7.
I know, but I don't know if y'all know this, but when you dream, you cannot make up a face. So you have to use
Replace
faces
it.
that you've seen, even if that face doesn't belong to the person
Right.
that it's
Right.
representing in the
So
dream.
and he had a treatment and passed out, so I
Yeah.
just assumed.
Your medical
'Cause I-
side kicked in, and
I
you're like,
assumed
he's
that
got a fever dream.
I assumed maybe he was another vampire, but Joy was
He's
like,
been around them all this time, so
Yeah.
that's the guy who
Yep.
appeared,
Yeah.
even though that's not who was there at the time.
Yeah.
what if he's Lestat's maker? I'm thinking that. But you were like when he fed off of him like he was a human being. I'm like, well, Lestat bit Louis.
was
So
a
vampires
female.
bite vampires all the time.
And another thing to think about, he was in the sun.
No,
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's been,
He's been in the sun.
they were just in that room where
but those.
before
shades-
the curtains
The
drew.
shades can change back
He's been
and
in the
forth.
sun.
Is he the equivalent
Is he a
of
blade? Is he
Aaliyah?
a daywalker?
Is he the equivalent of? Because if you become so powerful, then eventually you can walk in the sun. Is what I remember. Or maybe not. Maybe he's that powerful.
I can't wait for y'all to watch.
Guys, well, let us know what you guys thought about episodes 5 and 6. Put your comments below, and if you've seen episode 7, no spoilers. We're not there yet. I ain't talking to you about that. And you guys on TikTok, y'all better behave too. No spoilers. No spoilers.